My name's Enzo Molon. I'm 13 years old and I'm living in Ottawa. My project was one me and my team developed at the Food Systems Challenge, and it's about an ocean-based greenhouse.
Fantastic. Well, we'd love to hear you to share your project now, if you'd like to dive in.
All right. Can you see everything?
Yep, all clear. Thank you.
All right. This is my team's project, Floating Biointensive Farms. I modified the slideshow a bit to my liking. So this is the slide about the issue and existing solutions. The issue me and my teams researched at the Food Systems Challenge was the shortage of fertile cropland. This is a serious problem that can lead to consequences like famines on a global scale. We came up with what I think is a very viable solution, but will be expensive and will take a lot of work to implement. The solution is the Floating Biointensive Farm, FBIF for short. This ocean top greenhouse is not just for growing things like perennial plants, grains, livestock, and etc., but it can also be used to build entire ecosystems. This model also includes living quarters for the crew and a refrigerated storage room to keep the products from rotting. The FBIF will use solar panels as a source of energy. The dock, you can see on the diagram, the dock will be able to, the storage room actually, I'm sorry, will be able to dock and load off its contents. And you can see there's a little pond and a livestock living area. So you can grow chickens, pigs, and cows as well. Some important aspects. Number one, perennial plants. This type of plant can regrow every spring, but since this will be a greenhouse, these are not completely necessary. Albeit they could be useful to eliminate the factor of continuous plowing of fields. Number two, reverse osmosis. This is the method of removing the salt in water for many different purposes. Ocean water can be directly taken into the biointensive farms and can be used for irrigation, bath water, and drinking water. As more FBIFs are released on the ocean, more water will be used up, which can balance the rising sea levels caused by climate change. Implementing our solution. We'll try to make as many floating farms as possible, which will maybe free up some space on land. We'd first have to make a prototype and assess its productivity level. Then we'd have to make a lot more. The project will create a lot of job opportunities, and the platform built for the floating farm will be made out of plastic waste. Biointensive farming techniques will be used to make more foods. The FBIFs will be expensive, but they'll pay off their cost by making a lot of food. They can be moved to poor countries where they can supply more food and to people who need it, for example, Africa. And our conclusion. Our floating biointensive farms are also a solution to the rising sea levels caused by global warming and a lot more, like helping a bit with the plastic waste issue and of course the food issue. They'll be right at home on top of the ocean. Maybe someday it'll be normal to eat food harvested from farms like these. Thank you for listening.
Fantastic, Enzo. Thank you so much. There you are.
No problem.
It was a great presentation. And I think, aligned with the Sustainable Development Goal number 2 around zero hunger, this is a really innovative solution about how to provide sustainable agriculture as well as nutritious foods for people around the world. I'm curious about your journey. I know that as part of the Food Systems Challenge, you were part of an international team. And I'm interested in what was your experience in terms of coming up with this idea with teammates around the world?
It was a lot easier than the water challenge, which I did earlier this year, because I already knew what was going on. So it was a bit easier for me to figure everything out.
In the water challenge, like what would you say some of your learning was there? Were the challenges to communicate with other inventors or sharing ideas?
Yeah, it was a bit awkward
Yeah.
because it was my first time, and yeah.
Well, it sounds like as an inventor, you're learning that's also that collaboration and communication is also something we need to learn about as we bring our ideas forward. I'm curious too about, as you look to take this idea forward, what would you see as some of the next steps to bring it to life?
Well, we'd have to present it to maybe the UN or something like that. And then we'd have to build it, which is really expensive, but it would pay off.
Do you think from listening to the previous presenter, Brian, that you may be able to build a prototype with bits and pieces of old toys or elements that you could create a prototype before you sort of build a sort of a full-size, full-scale model?
Maybe, but it would be big. It wouldn't be like the size of a normal greenhouse. Do you know the Central Experimental Farm here in Ottawa?
Yes, I do know it very well.
Yeah, I think about that size.
Okay.
Or maybe half of it.
And have you been to meet with them or have a conversation with them about this kind of idea?
With who? The people at Experimental Farm?
At the Experimental Farm, yeah.
No, I just use the Experimental Farm for scale. But that's a good idea, actually.
It's always interesting to learn from others and then have that, have our ideas tested, which makes us refine them even more. Jake, do you have any questions?
Oh no, I am so astonished by this whole concept. It's one of these things where you go, why hasn't somebody done this? This is a great idea. But I'm bringing in Jim Bruner, because when you talk about experimental farms, this is the person I think of. Jim, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the entire presentation, but no, you're muted, Jim.
Not yet, but I'm definitely going back and rewatching it because I've been listening the last 2 minutes, and Enzo has definitely caught my imagination.
Yeah.
Enzo, why don't you give Jim a 30-second summary of what it is you have proposed?
All right, it's essentially a greenhouse that sits on the ocean and moves around. Like people harvest food from it, take it to places like Africa, and feed the people. That's pretty much all it is.
That is intriguing. I mean, if SpaceX can land a rocket on a platform in the ocean, you can grow greens on the ocean. That's really an interesting idea.
Well, Enzo, I think you're also talking about livestock with chickens and farm animals, and that there'd be a whole sustainability piece to how the agriculture takes place, which I think is really intriguing as well.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I also want to, Enzo, I just want to say, applaud you on bringing this forward and continuing the discussion on this front. I think as you're presenting this idea, you're refining it more and more. And being an inventor is also sharing your ideas is such an important part. As you know, we can have an idea, but if we're not able to share it really effectively, it's hard to engage others. So the fact that you're coming here today and sharing it again after your experience on the Food Systems Challenge, and answering our questions. You're really building your muscle as an inventor, and your ability to reach out to others and get, get ideas about how to build it and grow it or change it up. So I just want to applaud you for coming here today to share your idea with us again. And I wish you all the best with your inventor journey as you go along. And yeah, I see lots of great invention in your future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Enzo.
Thank you,
you.
Enzo. Thank you.
All the best.
Good luck, my friend.